I've been with Sarah for about 5 years, engaged for almost 3. Everything seemed fine, or so I thought. We had set a wedding date, everything was booked, and I thought we were on the same page. I was wrong. About 6 weeks ago, she told me she was going on a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Europe with her old college friends. I had no problem with it. I wasn't going to stop her from traveling with her friends, right? In fact, I even drove her to the airport, helped her with her luggage, kissed her goodbye, and wished her a fun trip. That's when she dropped the bomb. She said we needed a break. She didn't say we needed to sit down and talk, no, she just blurted it out as we were walking to the security line like it was no big deal. I remember thinking at the time, what does a break mean? But before I could respond or ask any questions, she was already in line, waving goodbye, and that was it. At first, I didn't even fully realize what had happened. I drove home still thinking this might just be something she said in the heat of the moment because of the trip. But then I started calling her, just to check up on her, and what do I get? Completely blocked. Couldn't make calls, send texts, nothing. I checked social media to see if she posted anything or updated anything about her trip, and I was blocked there too. That's when I really started to realize that this break thing wasn't just something she said on the fly, she was serious, and she really just left for Europe and decided to cut me off without discussing it with me. I tried to give it a few days, maybe she would cool off, maybe she would realize how absurd her actions were, but after 5 days of complete silence, I had enough. I decided then and there, the wedding was off. I feel pretty good about that decision. Why would I want to be with someone who thinks she can just leave whenever she wants? I'm not going to sit there and wait for her to decide when she's ready to come back into the relationship, absolutely not. She made her choice, so I made mine. I canceled everything, the venue, the caterer, the florists, whatever we had planned for the wedding, I ended it. And then, I took it a step further, I decided she wouldn't be moving in with me either, which was supposed to happen in March. No, she can sort out her own living situation when she gets back from her little vacation because it won't be with me. Weeks went by, and I got no word from her, not a single message, not a phone call, nothing. Then one day, out of the blue, she calls me. I didn't even know it was her at first because she must have used another number. She says she's coming back Thursday morning, gave me her flight details as if I should care, acting like everything's okay, like she didn't just disappear for 6 weeks. I paused, then said, and what does that have to do with me? The silence on the other end was glorious. She didn't know how to respond. I didn't give her a chance to explain, I did to her what she did to me, I ended the call. Or at least I thought that was it. Later that day, I thought it was time to let people know what happened, especially since the wedding was off. We had a group chat that included some friends and family, so I just dropped a quick message saying, hey, just to let everyone know the wedding is off, and so is our relationship. I didn't expect it to blow up, but man, did it ever. Everyone started asking what happened, so I told them. I told them Sarah went off to Europe, decided we needed a break without even asking me, and then blocked me for 6 weeks. Everyone was shocked, some people were even angry on my behalf, and honestly, it felt good. You never know how people will react when you drop news like that suddenly. But it was nice to have some support. Around 2 p.m., Sarah finally decided to speak up. She didn't say much at first, just asked me to call her so we could talk about everything face to face. I declined. I told her if she wanted to explain herself, we could do it right there in the group chat. She didn't like that, said it was between us, not for everyone to see. No, she walked out of my life without explaining anything to me, she made it public. She tried to send a few more messages, but I kept my responses brief. I wasn't in the mood for her excuses. By 6 p.m., she was at the airport begging me to pick her up so we could resolve this face to face. Really, as if nothing had happened. I told her straight, that's her plan, not mine. None of this was my plan, I was serious. I'm not running to the airport like an idiot after everything she did. Honestly, part of me was still waiting for some kind of explanation that would make everything make sense. I guess I wanted to believe there was a reason, some sort of justification for why she did what she did. But as time went on, I realized there wasn't going to be any. She wasn't coming back with some grand apology, wasn't going to tell me it was all some misunderstanding. She made her choice, and I had to accept that reality. So for the next few days, I focused on getting my life back on track. I wasn't going to let this whole ordeal ruin me. I started handling our joint accounts, making sure everything was separated. Yes, I even changed the locks on my apartment. The last thing I needed was her showing up unannounced, thinking she could just waltz back into my life. After doing all that, I even started thinking about some travels of my own. I figured, if she could run off to Europe for 6 weeks, Maybe I should take some time for myself too. After all, I deserved it after all the trouble she caused. Anyway, that's where things stand now. She's got a few more days until she's back, but I won't be there waiting for her. She can find her own way home. As far as I'm concerned, this chapter is over, and I'm moving on to better things. Alright, let me tell you what happened next, because things quickly got crazy. After I came to terms with the fact the wedding was off, I figured it was only a matter of time before Sarah would try to reach out again. I was prepared, but I didn't expect her to start playing the victim so soon. It all started when I got a message from our mutual friend Emily. Now, Emily's cool, she's always been straightforward with me, but this time she seemed a bit hesitant, like she really didn't want to get involved. But she sent me a screenshot from another group chat I'm obviously not a part of. It was Sarah talking with some of her friends, trying to paint the whole thing as if I was the one overreacting. Can you believe it? In the chat, she's telling them how stressed she was about the wedding and needed space to clear her head. She even said something like, "I didn't mean to pause for that long, but I thought he would understand." Then there's this gem: "I just needed to figure out if I was really ready to get married, but he canceled everything before I could talk to him." When I read that, I almost laughed out loud, just like she blocked me for 6 weeks and then acted like it was me who didn't give her a chance to speak. No, that's not how things work. I felt my blood boiling just reading her messages. She's playing the poor me role, telling everyone how unreasonable I was, and how eager I was to cancel the wedding. At this point, I knew I couldn't let her get away with making me look like the bad guy. So I decided to face it head on. I'm not letting her rewrite history. I jumped into the main group chat where all our close friends and family were still following the news of the wedding being off. Everyone was trying to figure out what exactly had happened, and I thought it was time to clear the air. I posted a message: "Look, I just want everyone to know the truth. Sarah decided we should take a break, didn't tell me, and blocked me for 6 weeks, now she's acting like it was some sort of misunderstanding. I canceled the wedding because I'm not going to sit around waiting for someone who doesn't even respect me enough to talk to me." Immediately, people started replying, showing their support, and saying how messed up the whole situation was. Sarah was quiet in the chat for an hour or more after that, and then she finally put out a weak excuse, saying she didn't expect things to turn out this way, she never meant to hurt anyone. Again, no real accountability, no real apology, just trying to save face. One of my friends, Jake, called her out on it right then and there. He said, "Sarah, you can't just suddenly suggest a break and then disappear for weeks, then come back expecting everything to be okay." Honestly, I was relieved others were speaking up, because I was tired of defending myself. Now, things got interesting. Sarah's friend Megan, whom I've always suspected was a bit underhanded, decided to stand up for Sarah. Megan started saying Sarah's been through a lot, the stress of a wedding can really mess with your mind. She was trying to make it seem like Sarah was a victim of stress and anxiety. Okay, I get that planning a wedding is stressful, but please, that's no excuse to ghost your fiancé and party in Europe for 6 weeks. Megan continued saying, "You should give Sarah more time to sort things out, maybe your decision to cancel the wedding was too hasty." At that point, I couldn't take it anymore. I'm not going to sit there and let an outsider, someone not even in this relationship, tell me what I should do. So I replied to Megan, "With all due respect, you don't know the half of it. This isn't about wedding stress, this is about Sarah ghosting me, completely cutting off communication, not saying a word to me the entire trip. I tried, I called, I texted, no response. How much more time should I give her? Another 6 weeks? A year? If Sarah didn't want to be with me, she could have just said so. But she chose to disappear, expecting me to just sit there and wait. That's not how things work." The chat went quiet after that. I think everyone started to realize just how bad the whole situation was, even Megan didn't have much to say after that. A few days went by, I thought maybe things would calm down, but no. I received a call from Sarah's sister Rachel. Now, I've always gotten along well with Rachel, so I thought maybe she was calling to see how I was doing or something. But the moment I answered the phone, she got right to the point: "Why did you cancel the wedding without talking to Sarah?" I was stunned. I didn't expect Rachel to be on Sarah's side, especially after I told her everything. "Rachel, your sister blocked me, how was I supposed to talk to her when she completely cut off my means to communicate?" Rachel didn't answer that question, but she kept pressing, saying Sarah was upset, and I should have waited for her to come back to talk things over. At that point, I had enough. I told Rachel straight, "Listen, I get you want to stand up for your sister, but what she did was wrong. She didn't give me any say in this whole taking a break thing, and I'm not going to wait around for someone who doesn't respect me. If Sarah wants to explain herself, she knows how to reach me, but I'm not the one who's going to fix this." Rachel tried to say something else, but I told her I had to go, and hung up the phone. I'm not going to keep having the same conversation with everyone Sarah sends my way. That night, I received another message from Sarah, this time somewhat of an apology. She said she was sorry for how things turned out, but didn't take any responsibility for her choices. It was that kind of half apology that tries to make both sides seem at fault. I didn't reply, it was pointless. She had made her bed, now she had to lie in it. I wasn't going to go back and forth with her anymore. After that, I made sure to block her again, making sure no more drama would unfold. I wasn't interested in hearing her excuses, or letting her prolong this matter. At the end of the day, I realized something: I dodged a bullet. If this is how Sarah acts when things get tough, I can't even imagine what being married to her would have been like. I'm sad about the time we wasted, but I'm glad it ended before things got worse. Now I can move forward, and that's exactly what I plan to do. Update 1. Alright, after all the drama with Sarah, her trying to make me feel guilty, reconsidering the wedding, which, by the way, didn't work, I thought things would quiet down for a while. But no, not in my life. Looks like I've got more coming my way, beyond what I expected. About a week after I last blocked Sarah, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, because by then I was really not in the mood for more drama, but for some reason, I did. Guess who? Sarah's mom. Yes, her mom. What's going on? Now, Sarah's mom Lisa has always been that kind of person who's sweet to your face, but you can sense the passive aggressiveness under the surface. She's the kind of person who gives you a compliment, but somehow, you always feel like it's a bit of an insult. You know what I mean? Anyway, Lisa starts the conversation in a friendly way, as if nothing happened. Dear, how have you been? As if we just hadn't called off a wedding and I hadn't blocked her daughter from my life. I'm not playing that game, so I answer briefly, I'm fine, Lisa, what's up? That's when she starts with the emotional blackmail. Oh, we were all so looking forward to this wedding, and this whole thing has really upset Sarah. You know, she's been crying every day since she came back, right? She's a mess. I'm not going to let her make me feel guilty, especially after everything her daughter did. So I told her straight, Lisa, I'm sorry Sarah's upset, but she brought this on herself. I didn't cancel the wedding for no reason. Then Lisa hits me with this, maybe you were a bit hasty, you know. Sarah was just feeling the pressure of the whole thing. Sometimes people make mistakes under stress. Don't you think you should give her a second chance? I couldn't believe my ears. I mean, she's acting like Sarah ghosting me for 6 weeks and then disappearing was just a minor slip-up. I didn't agree, Lisa, it's not just about being stressed. She blocked me without saying a word and ran off to Europe. That's not something you just gloss over. If Sarah had concerns, she should have talked to me, not shut me out. But Lisa wasn't done. Oh no, she kept pressing. I know it sounds bad, but think about the years you two have been together. Your relationship has been great, don't you want to try to save it? I'm sure once Sarah explains everything, you'll understand. At this point, I was pretty annoyed. It felt like Lisa wasn't listening to a word I was saying. She was so focused on getting me to take Sarah back that she wasn't considering my feelings. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, and then said, Lisa, with all due respect, Sarah had 6 weeks to reach out to me, but she didn't. I've made my decision, the wedding is off, that's final. I thought that would be the end of the conversation, but Lisa wasn't done. She went on, if you won't talk to Sarah, at least come over for dinner, we can sort this out like a family. I was flabbergasted. She actually invited me over for dinner at their house, as if this was just a minor disagreement that could be resolved over a plate of spaghetti. I knew this was going nowhere, so I thanked her for the invitation, but I thought it was best we all move on. Just like that, I hung up the phone. You'd think that was the end of it, right? Wrong. The next day, I received a message from Sarah's father Tom. Now, let me tell you, Tom is that kind of old school guy who always thinks he's right. He never really liked me much, but tolerated me because I was with Sarah. So when I saw his message, I knew this wouldn't be a friendly chat. He was basically saying I was giving up on a good relationship, I hadn't given Sarah a chance to explain, I was ruining Sarah's life. He even said something like, men don't do that, you should stand by your fiancée, not run at the first sign of trouble. That really made me angry. I mean, I've stood by Sarah for years, and this is how I'm treated. I didn't reply to Tom's message, because I knew it would just turn into a pointless argument, and honestly, I'd had enough. But that wasn't the worst part. A few days later, I received a message from Sarah. She contacted me using another number, and it was a long message, several paragraphs long. She talked about how much she regretted everything, didn't intend to hurt me, she was confused about the wedding, needed time to think, but didn't know how to tell me, so she panicked and blocked me. Then she said the big thing, she still wanted to get married. Yes, you read that right, after all this, blocking me, disappearing for 6 weeks, trying to pin everything on wedding stress, she still wanted to marry me. It's like she was living in some kind of fantasy where everything could just be fixed with a simple apology. I stared at the message for a while, not sure what to say. I was mostly angry, mostly angry, but there was a small part of me that felt, somehow, sad. I guess we'd been together for years, and this is how it ended, not how I pictured things. But the more I thought about it, the clearer it became, this wasn't something I could forgive. This wasn't just about the wedding or the trip to Europe, this was about trust. Sarah had broken that trust, and no amount of apologizing or explaining could fix it. I couldn't marry someone who thinks it's okay to disappear when things get tough. So I did what I should have done from the start. I blocked the number she used to text me, deleted the messages, and really moved on. After all that, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I was no longer bound by Sarah's guilt games or her family's pressure. I could finally focus on myself and what I wanted for the future. Honestly, it felt great. Update 2. Okay, you might think that since I've blocked Sarah and her family again, things would finally settle down, right? Wrong, of course not, because that would be too easy. I swear, just like they couldn't accept the fact that the wedding was cancelled, they kept applying pressure from every angle, as if trying to make me cave. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. A few days after Sarah's last attempt to contact me, I received another person's text, this time from Sarah's maid of honor Katie. Now, Katie and I aren't particularly close. I mean, she's always been nice when we're out as a group, but she's more Sarah's friend than mine. So when I saw her name pop up, I was immediately suspicious. The text started off innocently enough. She asked how I was doing, said she heard about the breakup, etc. But I'm not stupid. I knew she wasn't just checking in on me for no reason, so I kept my responses short, like yeah, I'm fine, just dealing with everything day by day. Then she said, I think you should hear Sarah out. Alright, here we go again. I stared at my phone for a minute, trying to figure out if I should respond. Part of me wanted to just block Katie then and there and move on, but I was curious. I wanted to know how this would play out, so I asked her why she thought that. Katie then went on a long rant about how upset Sarah really was, how she's been crying every day since she got back from Europe. She said Sarah was too scared to contact me directly because she thought I wouldn't listen to her. Apparently, Sarah had been telling her friends she messed up big time but didn't know how to fix it. I sighed, feeling that frustration all over again. Katie, I've heard all this before. I gave Sarah a chance to explain herself, but she didn't. She blocked me for 6 weeks, then expected everything to be okay when she came back. That's not something I can just forget. Katie tried again, saying Sarah just needed space and didn't mean to hurt me, but the more she talked, the more I realized what was really going on. Sarah was having Katie do her dirty work. Maybe she thought if someone else said it, I might listen. It's like she didn't even have the courage to face me herself. I'd had enough. I told Katie, I appreciate you trying to help, but this isn't something a few apologies can fix. It's over, just like that. I could feel she wanted to argue more, but I didn't give her the chance. After that, I immediately blocked her. Then, just when I thought I could finally have some peace, I received another message, this time from Sarah's cousin Mark. Now, I hadn't heard from Mark in months, and suddenly he's texting me, asking if we could meet up to talk about everything. At this point, I had had enough of everyone trying to drag me back into Sarah's drama. I almost didn't respond, but curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to know how Mark would approach me, so I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop. When I got there, Mark was already there, looking a bit nervous. After some awkward small talk, he finally spoke up, "Listen, dude, I know this whole thing with Sarah is messed up. I just wanted to come and see if there's any way you two could work things out." I almost laughed. "Mark, it's over, there's nothing to work out. She made her choice, and so did I." He looked uncomfortable, like he knew what he was about to say next wouldn't sit well with me. He said, "Yeah, I get that, but what if she's serious about wanting to fix things? She's been talking about how she thinks she made a mistake, she's been hinting that maybe if you gave it some time, you could try again." I put down my coffee, trying to remain calm. "Mark, no offense, but Sarah had her chance. She made a mistake, sure, but it wasn't just a mistake. She disappeared for weeks, treated me like I didn't exist. That's not something you can just bounce back from." He nodded, but I could tell he wasn't really listening to what I was saying. He said, "Yeah, but what if she's serious about wanting to make things right? She's been talking about wanting to make it up to you." I shook my head. "Mark, I appreciate you coming here trying to help, but it's not going to happen. If Sarah wants to move on, that's fine, but I'm not interested in picking up where we left off. After that, we just sat there awkwardly for a while, both of us knowing this conversation was going nowhere. Eventually, Mark shrugged, said, "I just wanted to give it a shot." I finished my coffee, stood up, and said, "Thanks for trying to help, man, but it's over. It's time for both of us to move on." He gave me a half-hearted smile, and we said goodbye. After that, I thought, maybe, just maybe, this would be the last time. I mean, how many more people could Sarah send after me? Well, apparently I was wrong, because the next day I got another message. This time it was Sarah's aunt. Now, I barely know this woman, we've met at a few family events, made polite conversation, but that's about it. So when I saw her name pop up on my phone, I knew there was a serious problem on Sarah's side. Her aunt started off by saying she heard about our breakup and wanted to see how I was doing. At this point, I had enough, so I directly asked her, "Did Sarah send you?" Her response was, "Well, not exactly, but she's really struggling. I thought I could help mediate things between you two." I almost threw my phone. "Mediate?" I replied, "There's nothing to mediate, it's over. I don't know how much clearer I can be." She didn't give up. She went on about how love is worth fighting for, said I shouldn't give up on a years-long good relationship over one misunderstanding. At that point, I realized Sarah must have been feeding her whole family this poor story, making it seem like I was the one overreacting. This time, I didn't even respond. I blocked her, and decided to put a stop to it. No more conversations, no more explanations, no more giving people a chance to drag me back into that toxic mess. I was finally done, this time for real. After that, things finally quieted down. No more texts, no more calls, no more random family members popping up in my inbox, trying to get me to take Sarah back. It felt good, like I could finally breathe again without carrying the weight of her drama. Honestly, this was the first time in a long time that I felt like I was truly moving forward. No more waiting for those meaningless apologies, no more wondering what might happen, just focusing on what will happen next, and that's exactly what I needed. Update 3. Alright, here's how everything finally ended, and yes, it didn't end quietly. You might think that after I blocked Sarah, her mom, her maid of honor, and almost her entire family, things would settle down. But that wasn't the case, because Sarah decided to take one final action, which made me realize how far she would go to try to win me back, or at least act according to her own script. About a month after everything had quieted down, I received a letter, yes, an actual letter, like something out of the 1800s. I almost didn't open it, because who sends letters anymore? But the handwriting looked familiar, and I thought, maybe this is Sarah's last attempt, but honestly, I wasn't expecting anything too crazy. Wow, was I wrong? I opened the letter, and it was a long letter from Sarah, several pages long. She poured out her heart, talking about how she missed me, regretted everything, and so on. But here's the twist, wait, I can't say it here. This is the crazy part, she wasn't just saying she was sorry, she started talking about how we should meet again, and she still had the key to my apartment. Let me repeat that, she said she still had the key to my apartment, which I had completely forgotten she even had. My stomach sank. I mean, I had changed the locks when this all started, but I hadn't even thought about the fact that Sarah might still think she had the right to enter my place. I immediately got up, double-checked the locks, and started thinking about what to do next. But that wasn't all. The letter wasn't just some kind of apology, she was basically laying out a plan for how we could start over. She said she had talked to her mom, and we should go to couples counseling. She thought if we could meet up and talk face to face, we could work things out. At this point, I wasn't just annoyed, I was shocked, like she really thought this was a good idea. Block me.